Hey guys, welcome to the Pistons Talk podcast post-game show. I do apologize that I am how late am I am? 15, almost 20 minutes late. Went to the game tonight. And that's why I'm a little bit late. Traffic was kind of a bitch. But and I got distracted as we were kind of like leaving the arena, talking to some people. Actually sat like Everything King was like one row uh, in front of me, so it's really good to talk to him and see him tonight. But we're gonna get into this post game recap, you guys. We're gonna, talk about the negatives, talk about the positives tonight. We're gonna get into the first quarter and just kind of everything I saw while I was at the game tonight. And it was like it was really I thought a good game because we're kind of dissect each quarter. I really liked what I saw out of Tim Hardaway Jr. tonight. Um, we had our questions with the preseason with him. It seemed like he had a really difficult time like making his shots in the preseason, but Tim Hardaway Jr. came out the gate hot. He was hitting his 3-point shots, and that's something that I think I was kind of telling you guys, like when Tim Hardaway is hot, um, you guys are gonna love him. Like you get 14, 15 points a night out of Tim Hardaway Jr. I think most nights you're going to win the game, in my personal opinion. Really liked what I saw out of Tim Hardaway Jr. And he did get the start tonight at small forward. So that is a development. That is something to keep an eye on. Especially if is this going to come back? We kind of got an indication today from Amari Sankofa. We'll talk about that towards the end of the podcast. But um, very interesting that they're using him as a small forward in a starting lineup. But I really liked what I saw out of Tim Hardaway in the first quarter and in the first half, if I'm being honest with you guys. The defense. I was down there. You could hear the defense. You could hear them communicating. The crowd was into it. The defense was communicating in the first quarter. I think Indiana was kind of surprised that Detroit was playing that hard just right off the gate, and I think that's something that we're probably going to get used to with a JB Bickerstaff coach team. Is we're gonna on most nights we're gonna be a team that's as scrappy. I think the PR word they're using right now is gritty, kind of like borrowing it from the Detroit Lions. I was just a really gritty, great effort defensively out of them in the first quarter. Really liked what I saw. One thing that I saw you guys on Twitter talking about was the all bench lineup. So JB Bickerstaff did do a all bench lineup towards the end of the first quarter. It was around the 3-minute mark. Um, I know we kind of get like PTSD from last year with Monty Williams with all the whole bench lineups, but JB did do an all bench lineup and it worked because Malik Beasley was hitting the shots. Malik Beasley and Ron Holland were just an absolute menace out there. They were getting under the skin of TJ McConnell. They were getting under the skin of Benedict Mathurin. Beasley was Malik Beasley was active, hitting his shots. Ron Holland was just, Ron Holland as we know him. We saw him in the preseason, really, really active defensively. Kind of just gets under the skin of veteran players. I don't know what he says. It has to be something disrespectful. But Ron Holland got under another veteran's skin tonight. He was like talking trash to Obi Toppin. He was talking trash to basically the whole Pacers bench. So I love his energy. I love his just I guess we'll call it grit. I just love what I'm seeing out of Ron Holland these past couple preseason games and home opener tonight. I really do like it a lot. Now, going into the second quarter, I thought Tobias played pretty well. He was hitting some 3-point shots. He looked for Duran in a transition, had a really nice dunk where he found Duran. And we were keeping the pace with the Pacers. And mind you, this was a team that just made the Eastern Conference Finals. This is a team that if I'm not mistaken, was like top 3 in offensive rating and pace. And this is a very high potent offensive team. And your Detroit Pistons were keeping pace with the Pacers. And I really liked what I saw. Malik Beasley again. I just think he's going to be a fan favorite. Personally, I think Malik, in my opinion, um, when he's scoring, he talks to the opposing team. He talks trash defensively. He's passable. It's not like Boyan and Alec Burks. He's actually at least giving effort and trying, and that's all you could really ask for as a fan that's consuming and watching these games or even going to them live. I think he's going to be a fan favorite. I think a lot of Pistons fans, if they do go to a game or they watch a Pistons game, I really think that they're going to really like Malik Beasley as a player. And I know I told you guys this is a guy that I was looking for the Pistons to go after in free agency, and they did. But not to toot my own horn, but really happy what I saw out of Malik Beasley tonight, just kind of being like that sixth man, if you will, off the bench, and I know just trying to get the crowd hype and all stuff like that. Um, and then we started to see towards the end of the second quarter, Cade Cunningham start to come to life. He didn't really score his first point until about 4 minute mark in the second quarter, which I think a lot of us. I don't know if I did a podcast with you. It might have been a podcast with someone else where we were talking about like we need Cade to come out the gate hot because he's had seasons where he kind of starts off slow. And he scored his first point in the second quarter, and he heated up in the third quarter. Really liked what I did see out of Cade. Yeah, Braid Cunningham was in full effect. The third quarter, we're gonna get to in a minute, but really liked what I saw out of him. And we'll get to the third quarter in a minute. The one thing, because I was at the game, lower bowl, and I just kind of want to vent for a minute because I had said something on Twitter and someone said it was irresponsible for me to say, but Kate didn't score until the second quarter. And these fans, the whole night were dogging on him, saying, like, I can't believe we gave him all this money. I don't like the way he plays. He's so lackadaisical. He's so careless with the basketball. Like, and I get fans that go to games aren't like you guys that consume this, communicate with me on these live stream podcasts, or whether you follow me on any social media platform. I know some fans that go to games just aren't on social media. Um, and they're kind of casual in a sense because they go to the concessions. Cade drops 18 in the third quarter, and they look up at the scoreboard. They're like, "Oh, when did Cade get 26?" Like, it kind of just annoyed me to hear fans just dog on him for the first 24 minutes. And granted, he didn't score until the late second quarter, but I just kind of wanted to vent for a little bit. I think sometimes fans are just I don't want to say they're too hard on him, but I think they're just so critical on him as a player, and it just kind of annoys me in a sense. It really does. But let's get into the third quarter, you guys. Now, at halftime, it was 58-49. Pistons going to the third quarter. Tim Hardaway Jr. again came out hot out of the third quarter, hit back to back threes. And I think that's something that the Pistons honestly needed because to keep a team like a high potent offensive team like the Indiana Pacers away, you're gonna have to just outscore them. And the Pistons, I thought, did that, for about four-ish quarters. But really liked what I saw out of Tim Hardaway Jr. I think we can just talk about Cade Cunningham in the third quarter. The guy couldn't miss. I saw people on Twitter calling him Kobe Cunningham because he was just getting to the mid range. Had a really, really nice, like you could just call it like a tornado spin finish. Like it was like the whole arena just erupted when he was going hot. Like just give the ball to Cade and let him cook. And that was to me, I think that was the whole third quarter, him finishing with 18 points in that third quarter, just kind of taking that offensive load and keeping that lead going into the third quarter. I loved what I saw out of Cade Cunningham. I wish he was a little bit more aggressive like that more often. I feel like sometimes he defers to his teammates and he looks for his teammates. I liked what I saw out of Cade Cunningham in the third quarter. I like the aggressiveness for him. I'd like to see him be more aggressive, in my personal opinion. I really, really like it. And someone just left a comment, and I 100% agree. One thing they have to learn is ride the hot hand. 100% agree. That was something that I was like, okay, Cade just scored 18 points in the third quarter, and we really didn't see Cade until the 19-minute mark going into the fourth. And so we can just transition into the fourth quarter, you guys, because um, they were staggering Cade and Ivy. Ivy had like a weird fall that grabbed his knee, was on the bike, came back out. But yeah, Cade was on the bench for about 4 minutes. But I would have, to your point, I probably would have played Cade a little bit more to see if you could score a couple more points for us. But I get why JB wanted to kind of rest him, because you want to kind of match him with Halliburton down the stretch of the game. But I felt like when Cade got back into the game, he wasn't as hot as he was in the third quarter versus the fourth. He still scored in the fourth quarter, but he wasn't hitting those same mid-range shots that he was in the third quarter. And that's to be expected. I get why JB was doing that. He was trying to just match what Rick Carlisle was doing with the Indiana Pacers. Um, so there was that. Cade and Tobias and Tim Hardaway checked in around the 8-minute mark. We got to talk about the six man, the six players, right? I was so confused by that, and we can kind of segue into it. Like the six players on the court, like I listened to JB's explanation post game. I guess one ref said you're good, and another ref obviously didn't agree with that. And we had six players on the court. Pistons got a technical foul, kind of like a mental lapse, mental error with you, if you will. But I was really, really confused uh, when I saw them get a technical foul and there's six players on the court. I don't know, man. It was weird. It was weird. But I thought, this team kept pace with the Indiana Pacers. They fought, I felt, for a good 42 minutes. Um, and then the 6-minute mark happened when Tobias got the blocking foul. It counted initially. Rick Carlisle challenged it. It got overturned. And I thought to the 6-minute mark in the fourth quarter, that was just a tipping point of the game. It felt like all the momentum that the Pistons had for 42 minutes, it just got sucked out of the arena. A lot of fans were still cheering, obviously, but it seems like just the energy just really, really felt different on the court and in the arena. But they just couldn't hit a shot. They couldn't hit a basket. They did get fouled a couple times. They did hit key free throws. Jalen Duren hit really big time clutch free throws down the stretch, but they just could not hit a basket. And I think one thing that we can all agree on is we need a closer. And if Cade is the franchise player, I think Cade should be the closer. Cade should be the guy taking the last shots if it's 2-3 minutes into the game. And that's just my opinion on it. Obviously, this is just one game. We're not going to overreact. We're not going to get too high. We're not going to get too low. We're not going to just fire off just rage bait. I'm not pissed at the Pistons. I thought they played well for a good 42 minutes, but you got to play a full 48 minutes to win in this league. I thought there were some positives that they can take away from this game. I also thought there were some negatives that they can watch the tape, watch the film, and get better and prepare for the Cavs in Boston this week. But that was just kind of like what I saw while I was down at the arena tonight. Really good game though. But I do want to get to any comments or questions you guys do have watching live, because I feel like it's something that I like doing with you guys. If you have any comments, if you have any questions um, about the game, something you saw, something maybe I didn't mention these last 14 minutes or so, the floor is yours, you guys. I'm going to get into just reading these live stream comments. So I do apologize if it's quiet for a couple of minutes. I just want to read a couple of your comments, the ones that I can. Let's see what you guys we got Organic Lindo. I'm going to need my man Jade Ivy to stop getting Sports Center highlighted by Matherin. Okay, so this is what I want to say about that highlight. I felt like he got pushed off from where I was sitting. Maybe his foot got stepped on. I haven't seen the instant replay on Sports Center Organic, but just from my vantage point, it looked like Mathurin kind of pushed off and he hit that shot. Obviously, if you guys know the beef with Jaden Ivey and Benedict Mathurin, um, Mathurin felt like he should have been the fifth overall pick. Obviously, he went to the Pacers sixth. Jaden Ivey went to the Pistons, obviously fifth. But yeah, I thought just the battle between those two, they both scored. I believe Mathurin had 19 points. Jaden Ivey had 17 or 18 points. I don't have the box score in front of me, but that was a really good battle, and that was something that I was paying attention to. I thought just like those two going at it was fun to watch. I was kind of disappointed that Ron Holland was defending Mather, and I kind of wanted to see Ivy take on that challenge, but I get it. I honestly thought that both of them had bright spots, but to your point, yeah, like I felt like he pushed off or stepped on a shoe or something. Again, I haven't seen the highlight. Got a comment from Earl Cash. They need a closer. I 100% agree. I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with that last roster spot. And if you guys do remember, the Pistons still have available cap space to spend. And obviously, Trajan Langdon and the Pistons have told other teams around the league that they're willing to take on a bad contract for draft compensation. And I think that's kind of been just the message, not only to teams right now, but even in the summer. That's how we ended up with Tim Hardaway Jr. So if there is a move to be made, I'd like to get a closer on this team, maybe more of a backup veteran point guard. That way you don't really have to stagger Cade Ivey as much. Saw Marcus Sasser out there for a very short amount of time, hit a 3-point shot or two, or I think it was a long two. Didn't really see him for the rest of the night, but I'm really interested to see if they do address backup point guard because I think it's so needed right now. Maybe it feels like I'm a broken record. I've been screaming for a backup point guard, it seems like, for 3 months, and they just really haven't addressed it. I don't know if they will this season. I really don't. I hope they do. We have a question or a comment, I should say, from Moses. Hopefully it's different than last year. Last year's Pistons won the first game and looked how that turned out. But this year's Pistons lost, and it's going to be different. Yeah, I will say the vibes around the team feel different. I talked to Corey Woods last week, and he's around the team a lot. He's a beat reporter, and he says the vibes just feel different. To the players getting to listen to music that's explicit, not the clean version. To the players, messing with each other in the locker room, messing with the rookies. Like this team is in better spirits. They're not so much. I don't want to say they were depressed last year, but the energy levels seem a little bit higher and the spirits seem higher from what I've seen from going to the games, talking to media members throughout the preseason and this past summer. So I think JB is really going to build that culture and get this team back on the right track. And it's going to take some time. I'm not saying this team's going to go out and win 40 plus games, but tonight you kind of saw what JB Bickerstaff wants out of this team. He wants them to just be a defensive minded team, and I think we saw spurts of it tonight. I think the longer throughout the season, I think the one goal I have for them is try to play a full 48 minutes of that energy that you did in the first half. And I think you're going to surprise a lot of teams. You're going to surprise teams because I don't think Indiana expected the Pistons to play as hard as they did tonight. We have a comment from Organic Lindo. Tobias Harris was a 13 points in the first half and 0 in the second. Welcome to the Tobias Harris experience, Organic Lindo. I think that's something that a lot of us remember. Tobias is one of those guys that can score, 13, 15 points in the first and maybe 2 to 6 points in the second half. You'd like him to be more aggressive. Obviously, tonight, he did pretty well in the first half. I'm not going to overreact too much, but watching him when he was under Stan Van Gundy and those guys, when he was obviously younger, that was over 8 years ago. That's just the kind of player he is. I don't know why. It just is. I still like him as a player. I like him as a veteran. I like is a mentor for the young guys. Obviously, it's only going to be a 2-year deal, and I know some people are already on his ass because he didn't score really at all in the second half. But that's just kind of the Tobias Harris experience, if you will. Another comment from Organic: they need to find a balance between Cade going ISO and running real plays. Yeah, I agree. I did notice that too, Organic, where Cade is just like, get out the way, let me score. There were other plays where he was like running sets through JB Bickerstaff's system. I think they're still learning his system. They're still learning his sets. I don't expect them to come out the gate and learn his system immediately. I expect probably 10, 15 games for them to learn every set that JB is going to teach them throughout the season. 10 to 15 games is kind of like my barometer of where I think this team will be, but I don't expect them to come out the gate and just immediately um, know every play. Obviously, going from Monty Williams to the JB Bickerstaff, I think it's night and day in terms of just the communication with these players on both ends of the floor. In the huddles, you see JB talking to, Cade, Ivy, Ron, you even see Jared Jack talking to these guys, Luke Walton, Fred Vincent getting in their face. Like, this coaching staff, I think, is way more vocal, and they're going to get in these guys' face if they make mistakes. And I think that is so needed. We did not get that last year. No disrespect to the coaches last year, but I saw it was when I was out there. JB talked to at least every player on the floor. He talked to Stu, he talked to Dirt, he talked to Cade, and I think that's what they need. They need a leader. They need a teacher, and I think that's something that we are going to see. And I know I went completely off the rails because you did ask a question or just left a comment about Cade, but really kind of like what I'm seeing at JB. Yeah, yeah. So everything King was right in front of me, Joe. Had no idea. Obviously, we've had King on this podcast, a good friend. Love him just as like a person, really good content creator. If you guys have not um listened to any of his stuff, if you're a Lions fan, Pistons fan, Michigan fan, definitely go check out Everything King. He's one of my favorite content creators out there, and he's literally the OG of just like YouTube content creators because he was doing YouTube before it was like a thing, before it was popular. Now you got like I don't even know how many Pistons podcasts out there, or just Detroit sports content creators. Like before, like the Woodward Sports, like Everything King has been out here for like 10 plus years. So shout out to him, man. We got a comment from Tara G. Fans need to be patient and temper their expectations. This is a development year that should have happened last season. We're already much improved. Yeah, I agree. I think that you can still have your expectations, Tara. Um, but still, we can still have conversations of this game. We can still have conversations about this team. Obviously, when I talk to most Pistons fans, it's, can we make the play in this year? Can we make the playoffs? Um, I think if you played the way you did against the Pacers for a full 48 minutes defensively, making your shots, then yes. Obviously, this is a young team, and with a young team, you're going to get inconsistent times, like in the fourth quarter tonight when they couldn't hit a bucket, and that is to be expected. That's why you go out and get a Malik Beasley. That's why you go out and get a Tim Hardaway Jr. because veterans can help young players develop that way. But I do agree with you. I think fans need to be a little bit more patient. We've been rebuilding since 2020. Um, I felt that last year they should have went out and got more veterans. Obviously, that did not happen. Joe Harris, if you will, didn't really play too much, but I really like what Trajan Langdon and JB Bickerstaff and just the whole Pistons organization is doing right now, going in that direction, finding, guys like a Malik Beasley, getting him on a 1-year deal, re-signing someone, a Fontecchio, who kind of had a bad game tonight, but I'm pretty high on Fontecchio as a player. But I think we can get excited about this team. I think they're on the right direction to getting this back on track. Only caught highlights. Did Reese anytime? No, Paul Reed did actually. He did not play it at all. But I think we will see Paul Reed. He's too good of a player just to have on the bench. I got Ashton in here. Damn, that hurt. Ashton, man, they played good, man. They really did. Obviously, I would have loved to see Cade play more, personally, because I mean, you score 18 points in a quarter. I'm probably having you out there in the fourth for a couple of more minutes because I want to see if you can keep scoring and just run that score up. But Ashton, I really, really am high on this team. I think they can really shock a lot of teams because I can guarantee you the Pacers were not expecting them to come out that aggressive. Got a comment from Speakeasy, who I actually went to the game tonight. Uh, did tonight change your win prediction? I still have them around 27 to 29 easy. I think that's my barometer with this team, and that's doubling the win total. Um, I think tonight I'm still on that 27, 29 win total. I think they could smash that if they play a full 48. Like the first three quarters, I mean, you could probably agree they were playing like really good defense. They were scoring the basketball. If they do that full for a full 48 minutes, then yeah, I honestly think that this could be a team uh, that could probably smash my prediction. But we're gonna have to wait and see. They're still a very, very young team. They're gonna be inconsistent at times. But like what I saw out of them, just overall. Got a comment from Bravo. These guys are used to losing, so it's hard to start a winning culture suddenly. Yeah, I do agree, Bravo. I know you kind of look at their schedule and they're playing a lot of top caliber teams in the Eastern Conference. Their first 10 games is just brutal. I'm hoping they can sneak one or two, maybe possibly three wins in the that 10 game stretch. But I think it's going to tell us a lot of what to expect out of this team. I'm not so much talking about the wins and losses. I'm talking about their competitive level. Like, are they staying competitive in all of these games? And I thought for a good 40 minutes, 42 minutes, they were competitive. They were going back and forth with the Pacers, just exchanging punches. But I really like what I saw out of them tonight. I thought Donis Jenkins was the backup point guard. So Donis Jenkins is probably going to spend a majority of his time with the Motor City Cruise because he is a two-way player. He could be a backup point guard. I don't know how JB Bickerstaff views Donis Jenkins. I don't know if he feels that if he's ready to hold that responsibility. It was really telling that Marcus Sasser got very little playing time, and that's a player that they really tried to develop this summer league to be that backup guard, and he barely got any playing time. Jaden Ivey was staggered with Cade tonight, and he was kind of having that backup point guard role. Um, I don't really know how much we'll see Donis Jenkins. If there's an injury, they'll probably call him up. But if you do want to watch him this season, you're probably going to watch him a lot in the Motor City Cruise, and he's a really fun player to watch. Cade is going to burn himself playing that way. Yeah, I thought he had a really good game. I thought the third quarter. I saw a stat tonight that I'm going to call it Bally. Bally Sports Detroit because I just switched to FanDuel. I'm probably going to call it Bally for a month, but FanDuel Sports Network had a graphic up during the game that Cade was responsible for 45% of the offense out of 95 points. That's when during the fourth quarter when the Pistons only had 95 points, but he was responsible for almost half the offense, points scored and assisted. So that kind of tells you how important Cade Cunningham is to this team. And I think we all know that he's the franchise player at the end of the day. Do you think that if the star was healthy, we would have won? Would have been more scrappy, that's for sure. Um, I'll just say, yeah, because Asar is just a Asar is such a good defender. I think if you had a combination of him and Asar out there, you're gonna have at least one good defender with the bench units and the starting units. Honestly, think that both of those guys on the team as just wing defenders is going to be such a luxury to have. Obviously, we really don't know when Asar is going to play, just because of the blood clot situation. The NBA still has not cleared him. Haven't really got any clarification of what a timetable is, but I'm sure that once the beat reporters get any word of it, they'll probably be the first to break that news. I know Amari Sankofa from the Free Press and the Pistons Pulse podcast had tweeted out something today that he's going to be out, along with Bobby Clipman, who strained his calf. But we'll get an update on Asar eventually. Mailbag, do you believe in Joe Hendry? So I haven't watched wrestling in a long time. Probably since I went to WrestleMania 23 when I was a kid, like at 14 years old at Ford Field Easy. Um, I haven't watched it in a long time, so I can't really give you an answer. It's been a minute. Maybe I should get back into wrestling because it seems like every Pistons fans out here is just like a wrestling fan. Got a comment from Mega Hustle. I was impressed with Bickerstaff's coaching tonight, even though the Pacers robbed them. Yeah, I mean, night and day from Monty Williams. He was getting in referees' faces all night. He was calling them out on calls that he did not agree with. He was holding players accountable during the games, during timeouts, coaching them up. I know Ron Holland made a couple mistakes, and he was talking to Ron while he was playing. He was trying to coach him while he was playing, and then when there was a timeout, he just took him aside and told him the mistakes he made. And Ron came out and just made a couple defensive stops, and he didn't pout, put his head down, and I think he's the right coach for this young up and coming team, in my opinion. A comment from Quinn: how does JD's defense affect the overall defensive morale in the team? I think it's huge, honestly. Quinn, great question. I think if this team wants to have kind of like play in aspirations, Jalen Duren's impact defensively, I think, is more important than people talk about. You need him to be a rim protector. You need him to be that anchor. And we all know he has all the physical tools to protect the rim. He has the physical tools to block shots. Now, I saw tonight he was making an effort to try to block shots, trying to protect the rim, but there were plays where there was just no weak side help for him. Um, and that's a communication thing. That is something that can work out in practice and watch film together, because Jalen Duren, I thought for the most part, was doing his part. It's just he had no weak side help from his teammates. But to answer your question, I think it's very crucial and very important for him to have an impact. Do a couple of more of these, and I'll probably wrap it up. I do have to actually wake up for an interview in the morning pretty early, but I do appreciate you guys like coming on. I'm just kind of scrolling through some of these comments. Pistons Jack, yo, what's the atmosphere like in LCA tonight? Sounded loud when the team was clicking on the court. It was pretty loud, Jack. I'm not even gonna lie. When Cade hit that 3-point buzzer beater, that LCA was just erupting when he just kind of went on that 18-point heater. Fans started getting into it. They're just chanting his name. It was just so electric tonight, and I think that's something that the Pistons have been. They were 12th in attendance and they lost 28 straight games. I think when you put a winning product on the floor, would not surprise me if you see the Pistons like top 5 in just attendance, because this city is so starving for the Pistons to be good, Jack. But to answer your question, the atmosphere was great. Um, I loved it. I love the energy. The halftime show was actually pretty good. Enjoyed that. Hardy Boys were there. If you guys are wrestling fans, so well, it was a pretty cool first game. So I'll do probably like one or two more. I think it's going on 12:30, almost 1 a.m. But I love talking to you guys. I love doing these, post game podcasts for you guys. We'll do like one more comment, one more question, and then we'll just kind of wrap it up. And I'll definitely see you guys later throughout the week with these post game podcasts. But um, let's see. Got a comment from D-Buck. We have a small big, but is available in free agency or via trade. Can we actually get a rebound and play defense? That's a tough question. Um, I like I let me be careful how I say this. I like Jalen Duren, and I think he does a pretty good job for being as young as he is, but he's still understanding the game, and I think sometimes we forget that. Now, going to Isaiah Stewart, we know Isaiah Stewart is undersized, and I feel like if Isaiah Stewart was like 2 inches taller, there were several plays tonight where, whether it was TJ McConnell or Benedict Mathurin, they would just kind of throw a floater up, and Stu was really close to blocking the shot, but he couldn't. To your point, yeah, it would be nice to have a backup center that can grab rebounds, that can block shots. Um, I was hoping for Andre Drummond this offseason as a backup. I really was. I feel like Andre Drummond would be a perfect backup for Durham, but we're gonna have to wait and see of how Trajan Langdon evaluates his team and kind of see like where he sees just kind of the center room, if you will. Like, what does he think of Stewart long term? Because he didn't draft Stewart. What does he do with Paul Reed? Because that was kind of a, if you're not gonna play Paul Reed, it's kind of a head scratching decision unless you plan on trying to trade him. And I don't even know if you can trade him because I don't, the new CBA is like really confusing because they picked him off waivers. I don't know if there's a certain date that they can trade him or cannot trade him. But I think that it's a fair question, D-Buck. It really is. Having a backup center, like we had a backup veteran center in Taj Gibson last year, and you saw what he did for James Wiseman. Really kind of unlocked him. Really, helped mentor them. Um, I think that's something to keep an eye on this season, especially, once we're in February and the trading deadline. It'll be really interesting to see where this team is at, what they're going to do with their players that are on 1 year deals, how they feel about the players that Troy Weaver drafted. But I really don't have an answer for you. I don't really know what they can do. Um, and again, I don't want to overreact. It's the first game of a 82 game season. There's 81 games left. I thought there were some positives today, but to your point, yeah, I thought that Stewart plays his ass off. He gives you heart, hustle, all that stuff. He did make a couple of mistakes, mental mistakes, if you will, tonight, but that's to be expected. It's the first game of the season. I think with more games, he'll get better defensively. But I've always said if Stewart was like 2 inches taller, he would block a lot of shots. But hey, man, that's just, I guess, the business of the game. But I do appreciate you guys, watching for the last 40 minutes or so. But I'm gonna wrap this up. I'll talk to you guys throughout the week. Well, we're gonna be doing these all season long, so we'll talk to you with the Cleveland game, the Boston game, and probably do kind of a long form podcast to kind of just recap the week. But appreciate you guys tapping in for the last 39, 40 minutes. I will see you guys soon. Take care, you guys. Have a good night.